Hello book friends and welcome back. It is Friday morning. It is the morning of my interview with Chris Hammer, and I thought for this vlog I would bring you along of what a realistic day of interviewing an author is actually like. Well, what it's like for me anyway, and my routine. So this morning we've woken up around 8:30. The event is an hour away in a small town. Need to get there around 4:30 so that I can get to my motel where I'm staying the night and get ready and then get to their local library because that's where the event is taking place. So when it comes to interviewing authors, I'm very much a person who my creativity is always in the morning. When I have done like writing spurts, it's in the morning. When I've done like filming of content, it's usually in the morning. When I have done author interviews and lives on my Instagram channel, it's usually always at like 10 or 10:30 in the morning because that's when my brain is awake. The creative juices are usually flowing. It's when a lot of my reader festival ideas happen as well. Any like content or blogging type of or Instagramming type of ideas happen too. So how I kind of start my process of preparing an interview with an author, especially someone like Chris Hammer. Very fortunate that I have met Chris a couple of times and he's a great bloke, and I don't think we'll take things awfully seriously tonight, but it's always absolutely important to be prepared, and of course it's a paid opportunity. So if someone is paying for my time, they are paying for my brain, for my preparation, for my expertise, and for my ability to create conversation for an hour. For me, I read Chris's book a fortnight ago. I finished it, which usually I actually don't read that far in advance. Usually I will try and finish the book the week of an event. That way it's still really fresh. However, I've been really fortunate that Chris's book is still very much in my mind. I have started this morning by just grabbing a notebook and I just start writing. What I get out of my brain is a bit of a juice flowing type of exercise, I suppose. I just start jotting down what are the words, what are the feelings, what are the scenes that I remember. There's like half a page worth of those. It could be just one word jotted, it could be a passage, it could be a space, an environment, a character, a character's relationship with someone else. I also just jot down if I have recognized or remember that this book has won awards, if it's been shortlisted for anything, what book this is in a series, or how many book releases this is in for Chris. Then I kind of start into the questions. Introduction stays the same, as this is my third year doing this same event with different authors each year. So I will pull up my introduction later on when I go to my computer and I'll just edit that up. That's really just saying what the event is, who we're talking to today. Thank you. These are, emergency exits. This is what's happening today. This is how long I'm going to be talking for. I'll be talking for 45 minutes and then for 15 minutes we'll go to a question and answer. Hold your questions until the end, that type of thing. I'll also in that section do a bit of an introduction of who Chris is. So kind of like his bio that you would see inside the front of the book or on their website or on the publisher's website. So to make it a little bit more personal, especially because we're in a small rural community, I think it's important to make it feel very approachable. Really what I'm doing on my notebook is just jotting my memory, writing down as much out of my brain as what I can, and then I'm also preparing questions. And these questions aren't always the ones that end up being the questions that I go and lead with, but I try to prepare at least 3 to 6 questions because we are talking for 45 minutes. With each question, I would allow 5 to 10 minute spacing for the author to talk. I always over prepare on how many questions I need. Sometimes when in the actual interview, multiple questions can merge into one depending on how the author's moving the conversation. So if something that, I wanted to touch on in question 4 is happening in question 2, then I kind of bring that forward and then we find our pacing again and keep moving through. But I like to pride myself on not putting too much pressure and stress on myself in making an interview really structured and having to make sure I get an answer for every single question. That's not the purpose of an interview in my mind, in these types of interview settings anyway. It's about following where the author is leading me and ensuring that if they are moving in a direction of a story or an experience or a feeling that they want to share, I'm going to let them do that, but I'm going to pull a little bit more out of there from what I want to know as a reader and what I think the audience in front of me as readers would also want to know. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, I thought I would just give a little bit of that to you this morning. I will send Chris an email later on this afternoon and ask him if he would like to know the questions, but I have a feeling that he'll probably say no because I think he's pretty easy and relaxed kind of guy. I'll do that anyway as an offering because that's always professional and appropriate, and I probably should have done that a little while ago, but because I'm someone who prepares my questions very freshly, it's hard to be able to do that. I will bring you along for when I'm typing up the questions. I will read out some of the questions to you. I will take you along on my travels to get out to the small town that we are going to. I will try and show you a little bit of the event as well, and then tomorrow when we travel home too. I'm really excited because the event coordinators are actually really happy for me to sell some of my book earrings, so I'm going to be taking those out with me as well. So I'll show you like my little display that I've got there. This is always one of my most looked forward to events, like interviewing events of the year, because I've known the people who run the library for a very long time, back from my bookseller days, so it's always beautiful to go and reconnect with them, catch up for the year or for the 6 months, because we kind of see each other once every 6 to 8 months, and see all the locals because they were very much all bookstore customers for me, and also I just get to see them every single year. I look forward to bringing you along. We're sitting at my computer and I am at the stage now where I had a break for breakfast, but what I'm going to do is kind of structure my intro, structure my outro, make sure I've got an acknowledgement of country, an introduction of who I am, and kind of start to get those solid pieces of the interview that won't change into my Word document. And then by that time, hopefully I will have some of what I've got written on the page transferred or wanting to be transferred kind of into questions. So let's see how we go. Laptop has gone flat, so I'm taking this opportunity to pick out what I'm going to be wearing tonight. Of course, we're going to be showing off some book earrings, and then I've got this vest, white vest type of top, which I will give a steam, just some plain black pants that they kind of flare at the bottom. And then I've got shoes, and then I'll have my green glasses as well. So I wanted to show you a few things that I am about to pack and take with me, ready for the night ahead. I am taking a stack of Riverina Readers Festival. These are the little tote. Then I'm going to be taking 2 little signs. This one is for the Riverina Readers Festival tote bags. I just made that on Canva and laminated. And same with book earrings. I am selling them at a special price for Temora residents tonight at $25. I actually just went and purchased a little square so that I can sell my book earrings easily there. So I'm just charging that on the charger, but I'm going to take the little box that has the instructions. I've got my laptop just in case I need anything, need to print anything last minute. Also have just a stack of little Riverina Readers Festival stickers. This is just our printed questions. You can see here that I have highlighted the areas that actually are questions. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. And a hot tip, it's actually better to not go back to back when you're printing, because then you don't have to worry about like unclipping when you're sitting down doing the interview and kind of fiddling and stuff on your lap. It's so much easier to just have printed on one side. I'm going to take these little backs. When I sell a pair, I put them on this so that they're nice and sturdy for someone to take home. The said book earrings. Bit of a range here, so these are coming with me. I'm also taking, I've got a little container of just some spares. I really don't think that I will sell all of these. However, if people aren't interested in the ones that are on here, they can have a little look at the backups and pick from those if they want to. We're going to put in, obviously, my library copy. Then I'm also putting in my little name badge, which is Mel. It is the Riverina Readers Festival, not Mel Reviews Her Books, but something is better than nothing. I actually don't have a Mel Reviews Her Books book tag, like name tag. I probably should get one. And then there's one more special thing that we're going to pack. So I have purchased a beautiful bunch of super bright flowers. Look at those beautiful red roses in there. So I have bought these for the library team. As I've mentioned before, I've known them for many years, so this is just my little thank you to them. And that is kind of us sorted. And I cannot forget the square. Oh my God. Hello book friends, and happy end of this vlog. We've had a few drastic changes which make life a heck of a lot easier, but I'm also coming to the end of editing this video and realizing that I did not share with you the questions that I actually asked Chris. So here they are in full. These are what I ended up asking him on the evening. Number 1, can you share with us the moment that you knew Scrublands was going to change the trajectory of your career? Do you remember who was with you and where you were exactly at the time? The second question, what has the experience of having your very first novel adapted into a TV series with Stan been like, streaming to Australian and international audiences? After those two questions, I started moving us in the direction of talking about the book The Valley, which was our book that we were having the most focus on for the evening. And I had Chris read a passage on page 15 over into page 16, which is about describing the valley as the environment and the place, but also it ends on this last sentence kind of being like, and Nell is now there because there's been a murder. So I thought that was a good jumping off point, and it was right at the beginning of the book as well. First question in this section was, the murder that we're talking about is of course Wolfgang, a progressive rich entrepreneur, son of Simmons and the soon discovered half-brother of Nell. When plotting this story, was he always going to be connected to Nell and be tangled up in the town's unrest by using dirty money? The second question, we then have Terramina and Francis Hardcastle. He was a conman working for the higher-ups who did end up falling in love with a woman owning incredible land and financial assets. Planting the fake gold was also a favourite plotline of mine. Why did you choose to unpack the themes of mining, foresting, meteor storms, and tensions of inheritance in a small town? The next question, discussions of Terramina and inheritance lead us into Amber Jones, Nell's biological mother and inheritor of the mine, rich farmland, and also all the troubles that come along with it. What made you decide Amber would be a character who came from very little to then inherit so much? With these questions, I'm kind of starting with a bit of a statement or a description, helping the audience understand where I'm moving and where I'm going and who I'm talking about as well. The next question, with inheritance, we also have William Halliday. That shootout and kidnapping scene totally caught me off guard. Why did you weave him into Terramina, Amber, and Nell's story the way that you did? And then the last question, which was kind of wrapping everything up and also talking about two of the main male characters as well in the story. We should probably go back to Simmons and Sarge, both of them playing a very big part in the story. At times I really questioned Simmons, but from the very beginning something felt off with the Sarge. He was an investor in the mine, he was accusing Terramina of Francis's murder, and he had posted Simmons in the valley to keep an eye on things due to the logging and the mine reopening. Did you set out to write about corruption, money laundering, and people getting away with the keeping of the money that they've stolen? Or did it start to form on its own with the story? So essentially I was asking him if he was a plotter, an author who plots all of their books kind of by page and by structure, or if he's a pantser, which stands for an author who flies by the seat of their pants when they're writing. They have no idea what's happening. They have no inkling of who the murderer is or how everyone's connected. It just comes out in their flow as they're writing. Funnily enough, most of those questions, so kind of like how I said at the beginning, sometimes I adapt and I move things around depending on how the conversation flows. Because Chris, as I expected, was happy with the questions to not be altered, he mentioned to me that he likes to approach an interview without it being too pre-recorded in a way. So sometimes his example was when you read the questions, you start to plan out what you want to say in your head. So then once you get to the interview, if you blank and you don't remember what it was you were preparing for yourself, you can kind of get yourself into a bit of a spiral. The only question was actually this last question that we adapted. Part of the reason why I changed this is because earlier in the conversation, Chris had explained that he is a pantser. He's a writer that writes by the seat of his pants. So I started to figure out in the conversation that asking questions that started with why, as in, why do you do these things? Why do you write the way that you do? Those actually weren't evoking the best types of answers from him, because the reason is he doesn't know why he's writing it at the time of writing. It's only once he has written it can he reflect upon it and then see why he has written it or why it works together. So because I'm trying to capture his mindset at the time of him writing, asking a why question didn't work as effectively as what I was thinking. So the last question I actually adapted in a way that was me kind of explaining I loved how this part of the book came together and this part of the book came together and all of them wove in the way that you were hoping them to. So I kind of asked around, how many times did you have to rewrite that? Did it end in a way that you were hoping for it to? Are you satisfied with the ending? By doing that, we kind of led the conversation in a way that not only were we at the end of the book discussion, as in talking about the very last chapters of the book, but we were also at the end of our discussion. It kind of moved it in really nicely to the question and answer section. Lots of the locals had fabulous questions. And then from there, we had some wine, we had some nibbles, we had a really lovely evening. I sold a couple of pairs of book earrings, which was really gorgeous. It was just so much fun to be back in the library and back surrounded by books again, and obviously chatting to authors who I really admire. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy the book vibes, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.